As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. I was born into freedom in a wonderful land of mountains and plains, rivers and lakes. Forever American is what I am. A past as rich as any can be. My father's worked hard to give this to me. I love this place I come from. To live another way I cannot foresee. As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American.
Good evening. Welcome to Real News Live. How you guys doing tonight? Hi, Lynn. Hi, BK. Hi, Debbie Martin. Hi, Nana. Hi, Debbie Rogers. Hi, hi, Richard. Hi, Rodney. Hi, everyone else that's in here that hasn't made a comment yet, because, of course, we can't see that. So, God bless you guys for being here. Of course, thank you, of course, for joining us tonight and everything that's going on. Hi, Matt. How you doing tonight? Please hit that share button, of course, so we can get as many people in here as possible. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Glenda. Crazy stuff going on today, of course. You know, DC judge finally made a good choice. I gotta say, even as an Obama appointee, this is the right thing to do. With, of course, the DC judge largely shot down the DOJ's motion in the Trump election case, which is a joke of a case anyways. Largely shot it down. He still issued a limited protective order, but on stuff they should be a protective order, like witnesses, supposable witnesses of the crime. But any non-sensitive information, the Justice Department didn't make it didn't make it clear at all why that material needed special protections. They just, of course, didn't want Trump being able to talk. Making it more ridiculous is it's a freedom of speech case in the first place, let's be honest. What happened with him speaking on January 6th and what happened afterwards are two different things. So, of course, saying that an attempted coup, or charging him with an attempted coup, basically, is a joke. And that's not even what they charged him with. It's literally a ridiculous process right now. Hi, Tia, and hi, Greg. I just seen you guys join. Thank you guys for being here tonight. It's crazy. I mean, I'm glad the judge actually, decided not to issue a gag order, making it clear that the only thing he can't talk about is witnesses, and he can't threaten witnesses, which is fine. But I think this has a lot to do with what's happening with the Michigan probe into fraudulent voter registrations, now being referred to the FBI. You know, we heard Michigan over and over again claim that there was no fraud. Supposedly the 10,000 or so suspected fraud, or the fraudulent ballot forms that were delivered to one of the locations by an individual, 8 to 10,000, ahead of the November 3rd election, supposedly they didn't get entered, but a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense because this supposedly never happened in the first place. We go back to even last year, we were seeing that they were trying to go after Republicans for supposedly voter tampering. This never even talked about. We never heard about these 8 to 10,000 ballots. And supposedly there's more to this story, and we're going to get more into it as, of course, more information comes out. But the attempted fraud that was caught, supposedly this guy came in multiple times and dropped off this many ballots. And if that's the case, we really got serious problems. That's ballot harvesting. No, these are voter registration forms. These aren't even the ballots yet, Glenda. Ballot harvesting definitely did take place, but that's another issue altogether. This is the fraud of actually making false or fraudulent forms. Basically, they took voter registrations and tried to register 8 to 10,000 people at a time with fake addresses, fake numbers. I mean, luckily, the state election process has to qualify from a voter file. Otherwise, all those would have went through right away. But some of them, the people were real, just because they didn't use their real address. But it just shows. And I think this is the reason that the judge in D.C. decided to hang back on what she was going to do against Trump, especially being an Obama appointee and a hardline judge against all January 6ers. This kind of put a wrench in her flair, let's put it that way, for what she could actually do, because this shows that there was intention of voter fraud on the left. An intention of voter fraud, whether it got an act or voter fraud did happen, whether the votes actually got counted or the registers actually went through is another story. But this shows it happened. So that makes a case for Trump to actually believe what he was saying, because there's not a question now that some things did happen some places. Of course, this is a big story, and we will be following it up, of course, as more information is released to the public. Right now, there's really not much out. It got released yesterday, and just a little bit of information is out right now about what actually happened. But of course, we have a Florida Republican introducing, finally, articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. It's long past time to impeach Biden, let's be honest. But Rep. Greg Stebley of Florida jumped, of course, ahead of his Republican colleagues yesterday, introducing articles of impeachment against the president, while several Congress committees are building multiple prolonged cases to remove Biden from office. There's multiple committees right now, all working on different impeachments for Biden right now. But this, of course, would be a direct action. And he says it's past time. I say it's past time to take action, too. He filed the articles of impeachment against Biden, charging the president that had been complicit in his son's alleged crimes. And he worked to shield him from justice, and he's still trying to shield Hunter from justice. So it's ridiculous. He's undermining the integrity of the presidential office, of the vice president. He brought disrespect and ruining the reputation of the presidency, betraying his trust as a president, acting in a manner subverting of the rule of law and justice at the expense of American citizens. How is he still sitting in office? That's a good question, right? Of course, the White House and the DOJ is trying to shield him as much as possible, applying a special prosecutor for Hunter Biden to, of course, thwart the efforts of the prosecutor that was assigned in the first place. And this is all becoming more information than anybody needs to know to, of course, to impeach him. This is an abuse of power by Biden as a vice president by accepting bribes. Using the Hobbs Act, or committing Hobbs Act extortions, and fraud for using his official position to gain money for his family, even if he didn't profit directly. He used his position to better his family. That's what dictators do. They claim not to be making money off themselves, but yet they manage to make their family rich and to enrich all of their lives. And the Biden family totaled at least more than $20 million. That's so far, for sure, we know $23 million. I mean, the second article charges that President Biden obstructed justice, which he did, by, of course, trying to hide the whistleblower testimony from the IRS. Members of the Biden campaign improperly colluded with the Justice Department to improperly interfere with an investigation into tax crimes. Of course, his son committed. The Justice Department and Special Counsel David Weiss, the U.S. attorney appointed to Hunter Biden's, have denied that Biden administration impeded Weiss's work. But we know for sure any other citizen would have been charged much greater. And if it was Trump's son or daughter, you guarantee their head would be on the chopping block right now. But watching this fraud and portrayed fraud that came from Hunter Biden and his father and his brother, it's ridiculous. And Biden repeatedly claims Hunter Biden did nothing wrong prior to the special counsel appointment. Now we have, of course, special counsel that's buddy-buddy with the president and the family. So it is truly a joke. David Weiss, a special counsel into the Hunter Biden probe, dropped the charges against Hunter Biden, of course, saying he's going to bring different charges. The federal prosecutor investigated the deal of Biden and brought charges against him in Delaware. And now, of course, his appointed special counsel indicated that Hunter's defense lawyer claimed the Justice Department into Biden's son is not over. But yet they dropped the charges. I mean, this is kind of crazy. This is kind of crazy. I mean, Weiss, that many Republicans and independents alike will feel that aided Biden's family in the cover-up of Hunter Biden's crimes. It's a joke at this point. I mean, I feel like they're aiding it. It is truly problems rising around the world. And political threats take the U.S. into uncharted territory as we go into the new 2024 election cycle. I mean, this week ended with the FBI agents shooting a 74-year-old man in Utah who threatened to assassinate Joe Biden, which is the latest example of violence, of course, created a more perilous political environment across the United States. 6 days earlier, a 52-year-old Texas man was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for threatening to kill Arizona election workers. 4 days before that, prosecutors charged a 56-year-old Michigan woman for lying to buy guns for her mentally ill son, who threatened to use them against Biden and the state Democrat government. I mean, it's crazy. Threats against public officials have been steadily climbing in recent years, and of course, this is creating new challenges for law enforcement, civil rights, and health of American democracy. Now, this is truly troubling. I mean, we know that lots of threats were issued, not just to the Biden side, but the Trump side as well. It's just sad. But when you have politicians exploiting their roles, you have election fraud that did happen, but of course those votes supposedly did not go through. I mean, you have a lot of people that are very upset from this. Yeah, I don't agree with them, but I've had enough of this. Enough of the back and forth, hearing one thing and then finding out that there was another. I mean, Michigan's trying to charge the alternate electors that were assigned in Michigan with fraud, which they didn't actually cast their vote, so they can't be committing fraud. Alternate electors, I mean, Democrats started this way back in Hawaii. That's what the first case of alternate electors actually happened. They assigned alternate electors because they thought they won the state, even though the vote count said something other than that. I mean, so watching alternate electors get assigned, which is a regular thing, and now becoming criminal, it's a joke at this point. Literally, when elections are that close, problems are going to arise. None of that. The U.S. isn't looking good. It's a U.S. credit rating downgrade again today. Yes, another credit downgrade for the United States. Congress must stop increasing spending now. They must. Biden administration and leading Democrats are confused with the credit agency rating, downgrading its assessment, of course, of the federal government. But it's long overdue. This development is long overdue. You keep borrowing money and you're having to pay back at a rate that is almost half of what your country makes a year in interest. This is a very big problem. Problematic is just the beginning. Yeah, they did in 2016. We've been sending people, alternate electors, since I think it was 72 or 74. When Hawaii happened, ever since that, there's been alternates in some state. But it's crazy because the long overdue credit rating downgrade was going to happen. We're seeing what's happening as more countries, of course, pull out of the U.S. dollar hegemony, of course, limiting the United States what they can do in their country and how they can do it. But the biggest problem is the increase in national debt and the inability of Congress to address the long-term problems. If you were to live the way that the United States government is and spend $7.5 trillion when you only make $4 trillion a year, so let's say you make $400,000 a year and you're spending $750,000 a year. How many years can you do that? Our government's been doing it since World War II. And I know it's getting worse every year because we spend more every year because the government wants to get bigger. But the problem is our Constitution says that we're supposed to be governed by the people for the people. We're not. And it's, of course, rattling markets all over. Interest rates are going to have to be raised again. I mean, costs of products are going up. Of course, Biden says, well, it's good because the prices of the remaining items besides food and gas, or food and energy, were unchanged. Okay, I'm sorry, but food and energy are the most important things. So if goods besides outside food and energy were unchanged, that's great. Okay, whatever. But what about the average American that has to buy groceries because they have to eat, has to pay for electricity, has to pay for fuel? This is becoming a serious problem that's entrenched many Americans into massive amounts of debt, being locked into flexible or variable rate mortgages, having to pay a higher mortgage rate. Insurance is pretty much abysmal in most states. In Florida, if you get insurance, you're lucky at this point. But of course, it won't cover anything. It's a joke. America is falling apart. The economic pressure that happened and the economic pressure that is still happening is unacceptable. Of course, the credit rating of the United States falling means the Federal Reserve has to raise interest rates. Of course, then we have to pay back more in the national debt every month. And of course, that affects everything. It's a circle that goes round and round. We're like rabbits or hamsters on a wheel. Hamsters on a wheel is a good way to say that. I mean, with the amount of debt subject to credit markets now, a jaw dropping $25 trillion in the credit market. It's roughly $200,000 for every household in America that the United States government owes. They didn't ever give us that money. Where'd that money go? $200,000 per every American household. Oh, wait, we're spending that on migrants in Ukraine and aid packages to Taiwan. And we're eliminating Social Security, so we can't talk about that. I can feel the fire. Americans decrease spending while Congress wants to, and of course the president, increasing spending. It's ridiculous. We're facing these issues. It's hard to feed your families. It's hard to go. Even going to work at some points is going to be becoming harder. Fuel prices are supposed to jump even more. Combining the cost of just average daily goods that you have to have, electric, water, food, gas for your vehicle to go to and from. Most people can't afford that on what they make now. And it's a sad day in America. People are worried about the price tag of a dozen eggs or how they're going to get to work because they don't have money for gas for their vehicle. All while the federal government is overspending money at a ridiculous rate, having to raise interest rates, causing these issues in the first place. As businesses are having to borrow more money, of course, to pay the salaries of their employees, because, of course, the financial market is not moving like it should, as interest rates are too high. Then they're having to pay back at a higher rate. Yeah, we have electric buses, Jeff. That's great. Yeah, forget fresh fruit. Forget even canned fruit's going up. You know, I went to order a can of mushrooms. I ordered my groceries, get them delivered to my house. You know, I used to pay around 80 cents for a can of mushrooms, a small can of mushrooms. I know canned mushrooms do. But they're up to $1.70 something. For a can of mushrooms, a little can of mushrooms. That is ridiculous. That's not even a side to a meal. That's like a condiment for a meal. It is beyond unreasonable. And we say, you know, oh, we're doing so good and with helping Ukraine, and Ukraine's doing so good. Then why is Russia launching rockets to the moon? Why did they launch robotic probes and a lander to the moon? And if they're in the middle of a war, you know, and they're fighting, they're doing so bad. I mean, Ukraine today tried to send over 20 drones to Crimea. Russia downed them. Of course, following this happened right after they tried to attack Moscow with drones. It's crazy. Russia thwarted the attack on both sides. It's crazy. 14 drones were shot down by Russian air defense, and further 6 were jammed electronically. No casualties or damage at all. Kiev, not Crimea. Or Kiev. Not Kiev, Crimea. It's crazy. We're going to keep sending massive amounts of drones and massive amounts of money and everything. The advanced movement that was supposed to happen from Ukrainian troops didn't happen. It's not going to happen. The area is heavily mined. People can't get in and out. Ukrainian soldiers are having to lay next to dead comrades inside of bunkers as they're being shelled. We can't produce even 155 rounds fast enough for their use in a war just in Ukraine. Of course, not only that, we're pushing China and Russia, Iran, and everywhere else we can, even Africa now, North Korea. What if we get in a war on our own? Then what? We don't have enough ammunition We don't have enough rockets. We don't have enough anything at this point to truly fight a war. China's now outpaced us in our Navy, our Air Force, our weaponry, our technology. Our cyber divisions are well understaffed and well underperforming against our supposedly strongest enemy that 5 years ago wouldn't even have thought about doing this. Now they're all of a sudden bigger and better than us in every area. Every expert opinion now is saying this. That China's a serious threat. Yeah, China's a serious threat if we threaten them, and that's what we're going to keep doing. Like Biden limiting U.S. people being able to invest in technologies that China, of course, is developing. Sad to say. It's sad to say America has definitely gone a long way from where we were. We're way off track, and we just keep going further off the rails. Yeah, we are forked at this time. Yeah, assault weapon right. Assault rifles. I don't even get that because there's no such thing as an assault rifle. There's light rifles. You can call anything you want an assault rifle. You can say any rifle is an assault rifle. It's truly a joke at this point. Taking the First Amendment, Second Amendment, throwing them out the window. 14th Amendment gone as well. Equal protections. No equal protections. There's different laws for you and me and them three. That's the rules, different laws for everybody. Different ways of enforcing them, and of course, it's going to keep hurting us. Hurting America. Hopefully, Democrats get their shit together and get Biden out of office, work with Republicans and do it. The damage has already been done, and it's going to keep making it worse. Kamala Harris is an easy impeachment. The riots prior to the election, of course, she had a direct involvement in starting the fund to bail them out, the bail fund, and raising the money for that, so that won't be a problem. Problem is, do we really want Kevin sitting up there as president? Oh, it's craziness. But God bless you guys. God bless America. Of course, you can afford to donate. Please do. We definitely appreciate that. As of course, we had as you know, I had to buy a new system and new software updates and everything else. So God bless you guys. God bless America. Stay safe. Please stay safe. And of course, we will see you Monday night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Till then, stay strong and stand tall. If anything happens in breaking news, we will be on it live. But of course, we'll see you guys then. Good night.